wanted to share why I don't feel very excited about new models anymore. I was talking to a YouTuber friend and I kind of mentioned that I'm not really excited about covering new models as much as I used to do. Why is that I'm not excited about covering new models, or not even excited about new models anymore, is what I wanted to discuss in this video. I wanted to hear your opinion as well, like if you feel the same thing that I'm feeling. See, the thing is, like when Llama 2 came in, during those times, like almost like 6-7 months back, kind of made sense that every new model brought something new to the table. But what I feel these days, especially with a lot of smaller models, is that a lot of these models are kind of trying to do benchmark hacking. See, I'm not blaming every single model. And I'm not saying that every single model is trying to fudge the numbers. I'm not making any of these claims. I still have massive respect for any new model that comes out. Anybody who is trying to put out an open model, I have a massive respect. The problem with these, a lot of new models are vague at this point. I'll give you 3 different examples why I feel that. Claude 3 Opus was launched, and one of the benchmarks that I trust, like I kind of like live by it, is the LMSys leaderboard benchmarks. Unlike the existing benchmarks which uses like a lot of these metrics like MMLU, HELLA-SWAG, LMSys leaderboard uses an arena setup where you pit one model against another model, and based on the votes it gets an ELO score, and based on that it works. This is a benchmark I highly trust, and what happened is Claude 3 Opus suddenly rose to the top. Like it rose. Yeah, it rose to the top. And when it went to the top, after a point, people started praising that, GPT-4 has been replaced. This is the best model ever. Claude 3 Opus kind of kills it, and GPT-4 is dethroned. Like I also would have made a video at this point. But what started happening since then is we started seeing a downfall in Claude 3 Opus. Now, there are certain rumors, I don't know if it is real, that probably Claude 3 launched with its best performance when it was launched to get the spike at the benchmark and make everybody believe that it is the best model. But after it got the hype that it wanted it to get, and then it kind of came down. So this is purely a speculation, rumor. People don't know if it is true. But what we know is true is the models may not be as same as it was before, and it kind of misleads the hype that we give at the model launch, and then when the model's performance is not as good as it is. So this is the example number one. Example number two, or the second point that I wanted to highlight, is while I have a massive respect for model merging and other things, which is like you take two models, you merge one model, get another model. There are a lot of these kind of small nuances that people do to improve a model. But rather than improving a model, another example is like, for example, you fine tune a model with a heavy math data set. Now you say that the model is doing much better in GSM 8K benchmark. GSM 8K is a benchmark that measures this model's, let's say, math capability. Now, what does it measure? Whether it measures the math capability or what does it measure is the question. So, for example, one of the things that I've criticized throughout my life, from where I studied, is that most of the examinations that we have are measuring whether you can answer correctly rather than measuring your knowledge. And according to me, these are two different things. Measuring one's knowledge is different from measuring whether somebody has memorized something correctly and can answer something correctly. I believe the LLM research direction should be measuring the LLM's knowledge rather than saying whether the measure LLM is good at answering something exactly as it was trained on. I think these are two different things. Maybe I'm not able to articulate it well. Probably one of you can comment below and then explain what you think. But I believe that the way we make students as laborers, we make students as complete robots. This is exactly what we are doing with LLMs. This is my perception. Whether it is model merging, whether it is like extreme narrow skill fine tuning, at the end of the day, I don't understand what we gain out of those LLMs. I refer a lot of people to use Mistral, and I myself use Mistral because even though Mistral is not the best model in terms of benchmark, this is before Llama 3 launch. Maybe now I'll have a different recommendation. But even though this is not the best model, we had a lot of fine tunes. We had a lot of model merged models. Even though that was the case, I wouldn't have recommended a lot of people. Probably the only fine tune that I respected a lot was the newest Hermes fine tune. Except that almost everything felt like you wanted to hit the highest benchmark. You wanted to release a model that had better score. And now we know that these benchmarks, I've got a separate video on MMLU, these benchmarks are itself not robust. They have got a lot of flaws. They're designing the question and answering, they're all flawed. But what we are measuring, are we measuring the knowledge of these LLMs? I'll give you another example. I teach at a local university. I teach data science, not LLMs. But when I teach, even though it is a credited paper, we don't have a final examination. We have projects, and these projects will measure the success of these students. I'm not saying everybody should do, and in this case it's not even one project. The project is throughout the paper. They have got like 6 projects, and out of that I'll get a score and I have to do that. The reason why I had to work with the university get this kind of scoring mechanism is because I know for sure that when you have question and answering system for one final exam, it's very easy to just get a good score, while it doesn't reward somebody who is accumulating knowledge throughout the, let's say, course. So I wanted something that I can, it's still not the best score, best way to evaluate something, but I wanted to reward somebody who has paid attention to every single moment throughout the paper, rather than coming at the end and studying for 24 hours and getting a good score. I kind of felt like it is unfair, so I worked out done engagement like an evaluation system with the university. The university kind of agreed. I think the same way, I think LLMs are being trained to be these benchmark beaters, benchmark hackers, benchmark whatever that is, rather than being these knowledge engines that we expected these LLMs to be. One of the reason, like I kind of thought about this is because of the the latest model that is supposed to drop in from Microsoft. People are claiming that this was a 3 billion parameter model that is already beating 8 billion parameter model Llama. We know how to make a model beat another model. It is not rocket science at this point. You take a heck a lot of math data and then fine tune a smaller model with that math data. That model will definitely beat a larger model with math, like only on math. I'm not even saying that you have to train it on test data. I'm not even saying that you have to train it on validation data. I'm not even saying those things. Like just by fine tuning, we know that the model will do better on this particular task. But is that the future that we're expecting in LLMs? Are we expecting to go to a future where this model is extremely good at one domain and then, it doesn't give a damn about others? Or maybe it is probably worse, it loses its knowledge in other domains. So this is a second example. And the third example here, the reason why I'm not so excited about new models are, we know what LLMs are at this point, kind of like they are a knowledge engine. They are like, in Andre Karpathy's words, it could be like probably an LLM OS operating system. You ask a question, it can answer. What I'm actually particularly more excited is, you have got the brain, you have got the engine, what hands look like, what legs look like, what eyes look like. And I'm more excited about that kind of a holistic turnkey system, a complete system, or an extension or an auxiliary system that can have LLM as a unit. But LLM is not the only thing. I mean, I hope like it makes sense. I know what the brain looks like. I know it has got memory capability. It can, it can remember things. It can answer. But what is the extension of it? What is beyond that is what I'm particularly more excited about. I'm still going to cover a lot of models that I think is exciting, and I'm still going to probably say, hey, this model beat this model beat this model, so and so. But I want you to keep this thing in mind, that are we trying to build a truly knowledgeable engine or system, AI, that can probably help us, let's say, find drugs, solutions, medicines, help reduce global warming, like these bigger problems. This was like literally one of the comments in my latest poll. When I asked like what kind of things that you want, one of the person said like, I want an LLM to research and give me a solution. Like this is exactly what I was hoping when we started discussing about LLMs, which I still think a lot of people are trying to do. But there's a huge noise around beating benchmarks, smaller model beating bigger models. While I'm excited about all these things, I could not start thinking whether we are getting into like a rat race with what we did with human beings, that kind of led to a lot of people, like probably like in my place I can say that a lot of highly talented people kind of gave up on education, because these education systems that we designed did not value what they possessed, what they could accumulate. Rather, it valued what they could memorize and answer a particular question. And I feel like we are going into that era of LLMs, where you take a model, fine tune a model, merge a model, release a model, probably distill a model, and then release a model. It is all becoming pure hype engine based on benchmarks and a variety of things, where the future that I hoped with LLMs, the positive future, doesn't seem happening exactly with every new model release, and that is kind of very painful to see, given that I've been on this space like before even people started calling it generative AI. So I wanted to put out this thought, why you may not see every single model being covered by me. I've missed a lot of models in the past. Like there was a model that was released by Databricks. I did not cover it. Like I didn't feel like covering it. I didn't put out any video that day, but I didn't feel like covering it. I don't know. A lot of these look like, it's just like headlines. Too many models. I'm not sure what is the use of it. Like because it's very clear still, I'll use either Mistral or Llama 3. If I want something like slightly more beyond, I will use some of the model that was launched by Newes Hermes. So yeah, let me know what you think about it, and see you in another video. Happy prompting.